In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at a very humid, very stormy, very warm pattern, especially the further southeast you are. Some of the deep south like Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama might also be experiencing this. So mostly the Gulf Coast into that southeast area is going to be the primary region, but up and down the East Coast, it is looking pretty active and for some surrounding areas. So we're going to be discussing all of this stuff today. I'm excited to announce that I just released a brand new vlog. Right as you're watching this video, it is available on my Ashton Blue channel. You can check it out on the top right corner of your screen, the pinned comment and description down below. We went to Florida, we went boating, we went to a Disney resort. We went all sorts of places. We went to Disney Springs. It was awesome. And we saw and actually encountered a very intense thunderstorm that hit us while we were boating, and we had to get out of there really quickly. Okay, we might get hit actually. Rachel, what's going on?
I don't know.
Oh, fuck! Get us out of here! Check it out today. Subscribe to that channel, like I said, like the video and comment down below that video because it helps me out so much as I'm just beginning to grow that channel. It helps it get suggested to more people, which is very, very hard to do when you're first starting out. So that would mean the world to me if you guys would just go do those three things over on that channel. Now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into things. And today, this looks like the map that we usually take a look at, which is the dew point. This is the relative humidity. So we're going to get a percentage here based on temperature and dew point. The percentage of saturation essentially and humidity in the air. And when we see these deep greens, that is where it is excessive humidity. That is where it is oppressive humidity. You guys know what that feels like, especially down here. We do have pretty high humidity up here in the northeast as well. Now, temperature does play a role. Obviously, very humid when it's not so hot outside isn't going to feel quite as bad as very hot and very humid. But essentially, we get an idea of the humidity here, and this is for just this morning. So let's go ahead and take it towards the afternoon, and you could see that obviously when we reach the daytime temperatures, this becomes quite a bit less. There is some pockets of higher humidity, and we're talking in here probably closer to 75 to 90%. So obviously we're not at the dew point. There is no dew on the grass during the day typically. It's also quite humid up here in the northeast. Looking towards Friday as the high temperature, still up and down the East Coast, very, very humid tomorrow on Friday. Saturday, a lot of the deep southeast. We're getting like summertime humidity here over the next few days. And I mean, as we're working our way towards Tuesday, here's the high temperatures on Tuesday, and we see really, really high humidity in these eastern areas. And it's less of a crazy thing, and it's more so of me just showing this to show you guys how close to summer-like conditions we are actually getting here. With the humidity reaching June, July points, it's getting close to that summertime humidity. And temperatures, although they're up and down, and mostly down here for a couple of days, once those temperatures come back up and meet up with this humidity, we are going to be dealing with summer-like conditions, also summer-like storminess. So let's dive into some of that storminess here and take a look at where we could be experiencing some storms later on this afternoon. And really, it's a pretty large area, and it's going to correlate with a lot of our higher humidity. Thunderstorms love humidity, so it makes sense. But basically, from Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, eastward, we can see a little bit northeastward, there is showers and thunderstorms throughout this entire area for the afternoon today. The west is relatively quiet, maybe a couple of showers around for the Rockies area. North central is relatively quiet as we have a high pressure system there near the Great Lakes. It's mostly the southeast corner for today where we're seeing any activity. Tomorrow afternoon, maybe the thunderstorms get a little bit worse. I'm mainly watching actually my neck of the woods, Virginia and North Carolina here. It looks like the models want to show some really bad cells tomorrow afternoon into evening. We'll be watching for that. Lately, there's been some higher chances of hail in the east than what is typical. Typically, wind and tornadoes are more probable in the east than hail is. Mostly just because of the ocean. That's typically going to cause things to be a little bit less unstable, more stable in general. So we get less of that high cloud hailstorms. But regardless, it is a little bit of a hail threat tomorrow. Long story short, which is interesting to me. The Gulf Coast and East Coast here are really the ones flourishing with showers and thunderstorms. Everywhere else, really quiet. So similar to Thursday. Saturday the 10th, we do see a little bit of a split up. Still the Gulf Coast dealing with these thunderstorms and showers, probably mostly thunderstorms down there. And this obviously is going to be happening 2 out of every 3 days here from this point all the way until October. So no huge surprise there. We do have a little bit of what looks to be a weak nor'easter. We've been talking about this. This could cause some heavy, steady rain, some wind. It is a minor nor'easter, though. It's not a crazy one. So you guys know how to handle that. You guys see multiple storms like that a year. Sunday on the 11th, it looks like another one is shaping up, though. We get a little bit more dynamic here with this system in the deep south and southeast. And we're going to see this want to move up the eastern seaboard in general. Here's Monday afternoon, and we see this really building into something a little bit more interesting. Very interesting. We do see activity as well in the west kind of surging up. We see still some of the Cascades in northern Sierra Nevada mountains dealing with some snowfall, mostly rainfall outside of there, but activity is really, really on the climb for Monday on the 12th out west. By Tuesday, the 13th, we see this system is gradually moving northeastward. Obviously, it's onshore, so it's a little bit less of a nor'easter. It's more like an inland nor'easter, which they do exist. They just have less coastal impacts than a coastal system would, but it's a very similar storm in nature. This one, similar to the one before it, though, is quite weak on the general spectrum of nor'easters. As you can see, for the west coast, again, still snowy in some of those high elevation locations, showers for the more lower elevations, everything pretty typical. Wednesday the 14th, we see that storm beginning to move up the east coast, and a lot of that activity is offshore now by this point. So if that does occur, we get a little bit more of a true nor'easter. Definitely an interesting system. Thursday here, we do see it break up, though, and it doesn't make it all the way up to New England as an organized system, so that would lower the actual impacts of a nor'easter type system. But showers and thunderstorms could be possible, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for a lot of areas along this southeast and mid-Atlantic coastal area. Obviously, the northern areas get a little bit later, but the deep south dealing with it for a little longer. 992 here, up for the north central states as well. There isn't much dragging underneath it. I bet this evening, Thursday the 15th, we are going to see something start to drag, and that will be what would be the main severe weather threat with this system. A little bit of storminess along northwest for that date as well. And yeah, this one doesn't really get its dynamics together very early. I would say by this point, it's a 988. This is Wednesday into Thursday. There might be a threat here for just east of the Rockies in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado. I could see this being a system like that, and then into the South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas area. But pretty minimal. Might change, obviously. And then we start to get this other low around the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, 17th, 18th, 994 there between Oklahoma and Kansas. A lot of activity out to the east of it, and that could surely be a bigger severe weather threat about 10 days from now. So take it with a grain of salt, but if we see this dynamic play out, that could be interesting. The Rockies and surrounding areas are dealing with precipitation still, and even heavy snowfall for the higher elevations of the Rockies. As we keep going, this is really coming together now. Sunday, we see the low is shifting more towards the north. We get a pure warm front, cold front dynamic going on. And this would almost certainly be a pretty big severe weather threat for a lot of the lower Midwest, the southern plains, and some of the deep south here. Again, that's Sunday the 18th. Here is Monday the 19th, where we also have a pretty active looking day. 1001 up there in Canada. Dragging cold front with intense thunderstorms along the Ohio Valley, into the deep south, into the south central states there. All dealing with a line of thunderstorms with that cold front. Really interesting. This is also going to probably pull in some drier and cooler air once again, although we're 288 hours out, so this could change altogether. Time will tell, though. But if we get storms with this dynamic, that is going to be interesting. And then sure enough, we actually end up with another system that just wants to move from the Gulf straight up the East Coast. These are going to create some pretty stormy days. Humidity, obviously it'll be pretty warm, but it can only be so warm if it's cloudy and raining. But this is going to be a sort of Gulf-like storm moving up the eastern states. I mean, it's just simple as that. Definitely something to watch. And that, I do put some stock into this because we've seen the model in the short range calling for this type of storm. We could see that pattern resurface a little bit in the medium to long range. Wouldn't surprise me too much at all. Now, total precipitation, because of all of those coastal systems, of course, the deep south into the southeast, like I mentioned, and up the East Coast, we're all pretty above average as far as precipitation is concerned. And a lot of these northwest and north central areas have gotten a lot closer to average. So let's take a look at the total anomaly here for the precipitation. And there is some drier pockets in there, but we saw pure red for a large swath of this yesterday. We do have some near average to even above average sprinkled in there, so it's getting a little improved, but there is still some areas that struggle to get much of anything going. It's just smaller by this point. We can see this entire area here is highly above average, inches above average over the next 15 days, so probably double what is typical would be what the blue areas are experiencing, so a very, very active pattern. And then the west is near normal to slightly below normal. Looking at the Storm Prediction Center outlook here, here's day 1, Thursday on the 8th today. We have 2 general thunderstorm risk areas in the lighter greens. That is, of course, where we expect general thunderstorms, but anything is possible. So heed every watch, warning, and advisory. The 2 darker green areas there are going to be your level 1 marginal risk areas where we expect isolated severe weather to occur. And then your 3 yellow regions throughout the southeast and south central states are going to be your level 2 slight risk, where we expect more scattered about severe weather reports to come in today on Thursday the 8th. Day 2 for Friday, May 9th, we do see 3 general thunderstorm risk areas. Well, actually 4. There's a mini one there in southern Texas. These happen sometimes, actually. Recently, I've seen these really small ones in the southern tip of Texas, and I almost miss them, but I saw it that time. Marginal risk for the southeast coast, as we mentioned, a lot of activity in that region, and damaging wind, hail, maybe even tornadic activity going to be a possibility tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Day 3, we have 3 general thunderstorm risk areas and a small marginal risk for North Florida and South Georgia there. Again, Saturday the 10th. With all that being said, be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.